He'd painted the same 2 fence boards 17 times, and still wouldn't finish the fence. What Grandpa Ben said over a cup of coffee on a Cedar Hollow porch changed more than the paint. It changed what Greg Walsh was really afraid to finish. Well now, pull up a chair. Grandpa Ben here. Tonight's tale comes from Cedar Hollow, Ohio, same little town where Tom learned a padlock can lie, and Hank learned silence ain't empty. This is the story of Greg Walsh. 47 years old. Works days at Walsh Hardware, his family's store on Main. Comes home every evening to a white fence along Birch Street that's been half done for 11 months. I watched those 2 boards get painted again and again. 17 coats, by my count, on the same 2 planks. If you've ever kept fixing the same small thing because the big thing feels too heavy to touch, listen close. This one's gonna feel familiar. Greg grew up practical, not fancy, not loud. His daddy fixed things once and left them fixed. Greg married Linda at 26 Church on Maple, reception at the Legion Hall. Honeymoon 2 nights in Columbus, because that's what the budget allowed. 21 years later, they still lived in the same house, same bedroom, same routines. But something had gone quiet between them. Not fighting quiet. Worse, polite quiet. Greg came home. Linda had supper ready or didn't. They talked about the weather, the school board, the price of lumber. They stopped talking about the hard stuff. When it started, Greg couldn't name the day. Maybe when his mama passed. Maybe when Linda's sister moved to Florida. Maybe when they both looked up one Tuesday and realized they'd been sitting in the same room without really seeing each other for months. Greg worked the paint aisle at his family's store Walsh Hardware on Main, name on the shirt. Keys on the belt, answer for every customer. Exterior latex or oil, he'd say. How's your prep? Man knew products cold. But every time somebody asked, you painting this weekend, Greg? He'd grin and change the subject. Fix and tow, he'd say. Same words for 11 months, same 2 boards. Last August, Linda stood at the kitchen window and looked at the peeling white out back. That fence is an embarrassment, Greg, not mean. Just tired. Greg heard more than paint in her voice. He heard everything they hadn't said. I'll take care of it, he said. Saturday morning, he bought primer, white exterior, brushes, sandpaper employee discount at the store. He power washed the whole run. Sanded, taped, by Sunday night, he'd finished 10 boards on the left side. Clean lines. Good work. Then Monday came. Work builds the quiet house. Tuesday evening he walked out back with a beer and looked at board 11. The gap between done and not done sat there like a question he didn't want to answer. So he went back to board 9 and 10. Checked the edges, found a drip, fixed it. Wednesday, he stripped board 10 down. Repainted. Thursday, same 2 boards. Friday, Linda said, "How's the fence coming?" "Getting there," Greg said. She looked at him a long moment. "Those 2 boards look real wet." Greg laughed it off. "Gotta get the coat right." I noticed from my porch on Maple Greg's backyard on Birch runs along the alley right behind my place. Greg and I weren't close friends hardware store hellos. Fish fry nods, but a man painting the same 2 boards 3 weekends in a row gets a storyteller's attention. 4th Saturday, I walked over with coffee. Greg had drop cloth down, radio low, jaw set. Morning, Greg, Ben, fine looking boards. Thanks, 17th coat on those 2 boards? Greg's jaw tightened. Something like that. Rest of the fence too? He paused. Getting there. Been getting there a while? Greg set the brush down. We stood there. White paint drying in sun, half the fence bright, half grey and peeling like an old photograph. Can I be plain? I said. Go ahead. You ain't stuck on paint. Greg looked at the house. Linda's silhouette in the kitchen window. Maybe I am. No, I said. You're stuck on the last board before the whole thing shows. Greg didn't answer. 10 boards say you started, I said. 2 boards say you're scared to finish. Scared of what? That when the fence is done, she'll ask what's next, and you won't have an answer. Greg sat on the back steps that night. Linda brought iced tea. Set it down. Didn't sit. You're going to strip those 2 again? She asked. Was thinking about it. Greg, what? The fence ain't the problem. He looked up. She looked tired, not angry. Honest. I asked for a fence fixed. I didn't ask for 2 perfect boards and a yard full of drop cloths for 11 months. Greg felt something crack, not marriage. Not yet, but the story he'd been telling himself. That he was being careful. That perfect prep meant he cared. That if the paint was right, maybe he was right too. I don't know how to finish, he said. Linda sat down. Slow, finish the fence, Greg, that's it. Start there. Then maybe finish a conversation we keep putting off till tomorrow. Sunday, Greg didn't strip board 10. He painted forward. 11, 12, 13. Hands shook a little on 14, not from skill, from meaning. By sunset, the whole back run was white. Not showroom perfect. 1 board near the gate had a small drip he chose to leave. Linda came out, looked along the fence, looked at Greg. It's done, she said. Mostly, he said. Good enough? Greg thought about 17 coats on 2 boards. About perfect as hiding. About done as honest. Yeah, he said. Good enough. Linda nodded. Supper's in 20. I'll wash up. That week, neighbours commented on the fence. Nice job, Walsh, clean look. Tom from maintenance drove by and honked. Greg didn't tell them about the 2 boards. He didn't need to. But Monday night, he and Linda sat on the porch 15 minutes. No phones, no TV through the open window. Just chairs. Just quiet that wasn't polite for once. Linda had said over supper, maybe tomorrow night porch, no paint. Monday, they actually did it. Greg said, I'm sorry I hid in those boards. Linda said, I'm sorry I stopped asking. Not fixed. Not movie-ending magic. But started. And sometimes starting is what finishing looks like at first. So remember this. Perfection on a small thing can be fear wearing a work shirt. Greg wasn't afraid of bad paint. He was afraid that finishing one job would expose every job he'd left half done, including the one that mattered most. The fence didn't need 17 coats. It needed one honest pass all the way through. If you're repainting the same corner of your life, fixing the same paragraph, tweaking the same plan, waiting till it's perfect before you move on. Ask yourself plain, are you polishing or avoiding the next board? Do one section, all the way, good enough to stand, then do the conversation you've been sanding down for months. Well now, that's all for tonight. I'm Grandpa Brain. If this story spoke to you, subscribe to Grandpa Ben's Story Hour. Come back for the next tale. Until then, stop perfecting the same 2 boards. Finish the fence and let good enough be the start of something real.